It's Miss Stephanie from the University City Public Library, and I'm here to bring you another Mother Goose story time. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. Clap your hands, stomp your feet. Make your hands all nice and neat. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? How are you today? Today's book is called Panda and Polar Bear. This book is by Matthew J. Beck, and it's published by Dow Books for Young Readers. And our story begins like this. In a place where spring met winter, there lived two kinds of bears. Where it was green and grassy lived the panda bears, and where it was white and wintry lived the polar bears. But in between loomed a tall, steep, and slippery cliff. It was too tall for a panda bear to climb up, and too tall for a polar bear to climb down. And so the two never met. Until one curious polar bear became too curious. What was beyond his white, wintry world, he thought. He walked closer to the edge of the cliff, and closer still. Perhaps a little too close. Uh-oh! There he goes. Luckily, the polar bear landed in a patch of soft, squidgy mud. It was sticky and brown and yick. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Something was coming. The polar bear ran. But the cliff was too tall, too steep, and too slippery to climb up. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Uh-oh. He's trying to climb up. The polar bear covered his eyes. He peeked from behind his muddy paws. And saw a strange, splotchy bear staring at him. "Are you new?" asked the strange, splotchy bear. "Do you want to play?" Said the polar bear. The splotchy bear took this as a yes. In no time, they were climbing trees, playing hide and seek, and following the leader. Finally, they sat down for a snack. Yick, thought the polar bear. This bamboo is too hard. He had a better idea. "Let's fish," he said to his new splotchy friend. The polar bear looked into the water and gasped. Could it be? He wasn't plain white anymore. He had turned into a splotchy bear, he thought. So he saw his reflection. Kind of looks like the panda bear, doesn't he? Splash! He jumped in the water, he swam out and snatched a fish. And proudly presented his catch. "You're fading," the splotchy bear said. "Where are your panda patches?" "Panda patches?" the polar bear replied. "Aren't you a panda bear?" asked the splotchy bear. "No," he said quietly. "I'm a polar bear. I'm all white, just like snow." He sighed. What terrifically splotchy panda bear would want to be friends with a plain white polar bear? But the panda's face brightened. "I've never seen snow," he said. "What's it like?" So the polar bear explained all about snow. But the more he talked, the more he remembered. And the more he remembered, the more he missed. Suddenly, the polar bear was homesick. "I'll help you get home," said the panda bear. "But the cliff," the polar bear replied. "I'll think of something," said Panda. So he's missing home. It's kind of sad. So he thought and thought and thought until he couldn't think anymore. "Maybe we could use bamboo," suggested the polar bear. "My mother told me never to play with food, but I think it's okay this time," said the panda bear. Together, they made a very long ladder. A very, very long ladder. When it was finished, the time had come for the polar bear to go. He looked at the panda bear. Would they still be friends after he left? The polar bear wanted to ask, but he wasn't sure how. Instead, he turned and slowly climbed the ladder. And climbed and climbed. The higher he went, the harder the wind blew. The ladder began to shake, and then it was suddenly still. The polar bear looked down. There was the panda bear, holding on to the ladder with all his might. "Don't worry," the panda called. "I've got you." In fact, they had each other and a lot more to discover. Look at them. Whee! They're having a grand time. And that's the end of Panda and Polar Bear. All right. So, if you remember in the story, when he fell down into the mud, and when he came out of the mud, he heard those footsteps and he became frightened. So he covered his eyes, and then he slowly peeked through to see what was happening. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story today, because we have a take-and-make for this story. And the take-and-make is a panda puppet. Because remember, in the story, he peeked through his eyes to see who was making all the stomping in the forest. So stop by our library and check and see in our youth services department, and there will be a take and make available for you guys. Well, my friends, it is time to say goodbye. If you're happy and you know it, wave goodbye. Bye-bye. If you're happy and you know it, wave goodbye. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, wave goodbye. Bye-bye.